Hi friends, welcome to this session. In this particular session, we are going to understand how we can integrate Logstash with Microsoft Sentinel. When I say Logstash with Microsoft Sentinel, that means there would be some log sources which will be sending the logs to the Logstash, and from Logstash, we'll be sending that logs to Microsoft Sentinel for getting the capabilities of analytics and dashboarding and other things, right? Which, as we know, Microsoft Sentinel is a SIEM solution, security incident event management, and with SOAR capabilities like security orchestrations and automated response, right? So we need to leverage all those features which Logstash doesn't have, but Logstash has the capability to ingest the logs from different sources, correct? So we will be ingesting the logs from Logstash, right? And we'll ingest it to our Sentinel. So this is what my architecture would look like. Possibly, it would have a custom log sources, right? Application logs or any other type of logs, which we are going to send to the Logstash. From Logstash, we are going to leverage a service referred to as Event Hub, specific to our Azure cloud, and then we will have multiple Event Hub instances, or maybe one instances, which is connected to our Sentinel, right? So this is just an overview session where I'm just guiding you or indicating what we are going to cover at a very high bird view level. So in this, first we'll try to understand how we will ingest logs using Logstash to Microsoft Sentinel. So we'll start with what is an ELK or and Logstash. ELK stands for Elastic Log, Logstash and Kibana. So one component which we are focusing on the ELK stack is Logstash now. Indicate how to install and deploy Logstash in a Linux machine. Will use a machine, possibly a Linux Ubuntu 20.04 machine, where I'll install the Logstash and I'll guide you how to actually see various attributes once, how to install the Logstash, how to check whether it's active or not, and what are the different places where it is located. Then how we'll check how to check where Logstash is installed in the system, like there are multiple parts to it, how to check the status, how to check the version, how to create and save the configuration file, and how to run a configuration file using Logstash command, where to see the output. So it generates the output as well, right? And how to install the plugins. Plugins will play a very important role. So I'll be establishing the connectivity between Logstash and Event Hub and Sentinel using the plugin only. So plugin plays a very important role. Understand how to install and where the plugins are installed. That also will see to confirm that our required plugins is installed or not, right? Now, Sentinel is very important because it is a SIM and SOAR solution here. So we'll understand how we can will onboard a SIM solution or Sentinel. We'll understand how to create a log analytics workspace and then onboard Sentinel on log analytics workspace and getting started with the Sentinel, right? We'll also create a custom table. We'll need a custom table because this whole setup is a custom table. Why we are integrating this log sources via Logstash to our Sentinel, because we don't have, or the Sentinel doesn't offer any out of the box data connector here, right? So data connector is an attribute that helps us to ingest logs from different data sources. For instance, if I have AWS CloudTrail logs or if I have GCP IAM logs, right? For me to ingest the GCP IAM or AWS CloudTrail logs to Sentinel, I have something referred to as data connector, which is an offering from Microsoft Sentinel, which helps us to ingest the data. But in this scenario where we have diverse log sources, we don't get any data connector out of the box from Sentinel. That's why this is the scenario best suited when we don't have a data connector. But and that's how we integrate the data to Sentinel. So when we integrate custom ingestions where we do some customization, then we need the dedicated table to it, right? We need to create a table in the Sentinel because we need to eventually query the data that we ingest, right? So whatever we are going to ingest, we'll keep it in a table in Microsoft Sentinel, and for that we need to create a custom table here, right? That is very important because whatever logs we are going to ingest, we'll get it into custom table itself. Now then, that is the central part what we are going to cover. Then Event Hub, we'll understand what is Event Hub, right? We'll understand how to create a Event Hub and how to generate a SAS key and capture the primary key and other required parameters. This is very important. SAS key It actually helps us to identify or get access to the event hub specifically. Then we have ARM template. Certain places will see ARM template. So there are two key terminologies like for creating data collection endpoint and data collection rule. So we'll also understand what is data collection endpoint and what is data collection rule. These are certain new mechanisms from the Microsoft side to ingest the logs. So this is very important. So let me take you to a bird eye view. What are the detailed steps or curriculum which we are going to follow? We'll start with creation of a resource group in Azure. Okay, so this will be the Azure part. Okay. Then we'll again install or create a Linux virtual machine, which will possibly Ubuntu 20.04 machine. Then Bastion is required to access the machine. So this is another feature. We'll get a super user access to machines. So that means sudo su command I'm referring to here, because most of the commands will require super user access. Then we'll proceed with the installation of Logstash to the machine. So there are a couple of steps which you need to follow. Couple of steps which you need to follow to install the Logstash. Then we need to install Java, and there are the certain dependencies for me to create a Logstash machine, right? Then we'll set up the event hub plugin in the machines. Now we'll then list out the plugins which we have installed in our Logstash machine, right? Then we'll create an event hub and connect. We'll connect it to what? We'll connect it to our Logstash, right? Create a log analytics workspace. This is the central part. LAW stands for log analytics workspace. Again, must be either commitment here, and this is very important. Like we need to make sure that the log analytics workspace is having a commitment here or it's a dedicated cluster. That's the requirement for this solution to be in place. So we'll follow commitment here, or we will follow the dedicated cluster as well. But the only thing with dedicated cluster is very costly affair. So we can go with a 100 GB commitment here for log. That I will guide you how we can do. Then once the log analytics workspace is in place, we'll onboard Microsoft Sentinel, which is a SIEM solution. So I'll just write it. So I can put it like Sentinel. Then we'll go to our create event hub namespace with public access. So we have public access option, right? And then as we are going to create a namespace, so there's a namespace, and that event hub namespace will further have an event hub inside it. So we'll create a event hub namespace first, then we create event hub inside to it. Then collect log analytics details like subscription ID, resource ID, and workspace. So these are the things which we need to access. These are the things which we need to access here. This is very important. Subscription ID, resource ID, and workspace name, which we can collect from the log analytics workspace. Then capture log analytics resource ID from the JSON. So there's a JSON resource ID which we need to capture for the workspace. Simple will not, because most of the ARM templates which are there, right? They require the resource ID of the respective resource, maybe data collection endpoint. We need resource ID, data collection rule. Again, we need a resource ID. Log ID workspace as well, we need a resource ID. This is important. Also, we'll create a destination table where we are going to ingest all the logs to, from whatever is coming from Logstash, we'll be ingesting it in the destination table which you get. That's a custom table which you need to create. For that, we have ARM template. So ARM stands for Azure Resource Manager. We need a ARM template. Most of the deployment is using ARM template, which will guide you what exactly the ARM template is doing. We'll also share the required link so that you can also imitate it. Confirm new table enter. So we'll also see once the table is in place, right? Now create a data collection endpoint using monitor. So Azure Monitor is a service which we'll use here, Azure Monitor, because both data collection rules and data collection endpoints are under the purview of Azure Monitor service, right? Here I'm just writing the broad services in use, which we are going to leverage. So if it is, hmm, if it's like virtual machine, it's one of the service, right? Then Sentinel is another service. Then Log Analytics Workspace is another service here, like Log Analytics Workspace is another service which is important for us. And DC is another service which is part of monitor only, so I don't need to write that. But DCR, data collection rule, which helps us to integrate. DCR basically defines what you are going to ingest from the source. That's the place where you decide, right? Like you want to ingest only the performance logs or the Linux related logs or Windows event log, what you want to ingest. There we have facilities, set of facilities, and the severities. So based on that, you do that based on your requirement. You adjust that and create a data collection rule. And by that, way it will be ingesting the logs to our center. So that's a kind of a filtering area which helps us with the filtration of logs which are coming from the respective source, right? Now, grant event hub permissions to data collection rule with required IAM role at the event hub to DCS. So this is again an important step. We need to grant the data collection rule a specific permission to the event hub. There is a specific role, event hub receiver role, which I need to assign to this particular DCR so that whatever we are ingesting in event hub should be taken up by this DCR and forwarded to the log analytics workspace like that. And then also we need to associate the event hub with the data collection rule. Okay, whatever resource IDs these two will have, we need to take that and we need to give the name of the association so that this will be the binding unit. So the flow is like we'll get the log search data, we'll install the plugin. By virtue of plugin, it will be connected to the event hub, right? It can communicate with event hub. Now, event hub will communicate with the log analytics workspace by virtue of data collection rule and data collection endpoint. So that's how it is. So I'll just try to insert some more figure here. So this the communication between log search and event hub is by virtue of what? By virtue of the plugins. And the communication between event hub and plugins and DCE and DCR. So that's how it will communicate. So this event hub can communicate with the I'm missing one important segment here, log and its workflows. I'll just put it here in place. Log and its workspace will have what? We'll basically have a table where we are going to ingest, and it is the log and its workspace on which our Microsoft Sentinel is onboarded, right? So that is the key thing. Now, when then we start generating the logs. So prior to starting generating the logs, what we'll do, this communication is already in place. So I'll just go to my previous sheet again. So event hub is already in communication with Central by virtue of DC and DCR, right? So event hub has an option to generate some random or mock data, which we will try to generate, and we'll observe the log, those dummy logs or mock logs in our logatics custom log table. If they are there, then the connectivity between this component is perfect. So that's the test which we are going to do. So this is basically testing aspect. And then once it passes, so that then test one is passed, so then we can proceed with next step, which is like create a SAS key in event hub and capture the data. Capture the data. We'll create a SAS key on our event hub, and then we'll capture this data and frame the output for the log search. This is the log search part again coming up. In this place, what we are going to do, we are going to create an input and output kind of a frame that basically log search require, and we that's a configuration file which you need to create for the log search, and we need to run it eventually so that the required logs will be sent to the from log search to the event hub, and then so whatever you want to send, you need to create a configuration file. So we'll understand how to create that configuration file and where to place that configuration file and how to run that configuration file. These are the three aspects we are going to cover from the log search perspective: how to create the file, how to place the where to place the file, and then how to run the file. Now to run the configuration file, navigate these are the paths which I have taken for the reference. Commands to run and check the status of the run respectively. We'll check the status whether it ran successfully or not. And once it completes the execution, we'll observe the logs in our Microsoft Sentinel. So that is the core goal. And I hope you got a good understanding what this is about, and you'll get a good understanding of what is log search and how it can communicate and how plugins works and how data collection endpoint and data collection rule works and what is the log analytics workspace, how we onboard Microsoft Sentinel on top of it, and how eventually from log search. Now this log search can be at any place. Okay, it can be either at now for my scenario I've taken it in the purview of Microsoft Azure only, but in general it can be on any other cloud provider, any other CSP like GCP or AWS. GCP or AWS or on-premise, can be anywhere, right? So that is the thing, and that's how you can leverage. So this becomes important now when you have different log sources here, right? So you can, all these log sources will send the data to this place, to this Logstash, and then you can start leveraging it. So they all will send the logs to this, and then we'll get it to our Sentinel. And then we can, at the Sentinel side, we can always use parsers to generalize the data as per our required use cases. So that is the thing. So I hope you got a good understanding what this course about. Let's start in the next sessions from the Logstash perspective. Stay tuned. Thank you.